And here we have the left ventricle. So with the left ventricle, when it contracts, hey, let's go to top hat real quick. When the left ventricle contracts, it squeezes blood into the blank. And this is normal blood flow. We're not talking about pathology where you have murmurs or regurgitation. Okay, let's see what people said. So most of you said aorta, some of you said other chambers or the pulmonary arteries. So the people who said aorta are correct. Again, the left ventricle is the one that does the heavy lifting. It's pumping all this newly oxygenated blood from the lungs. Again, the lungs oxygenate blood, then you collect that oxygenated blood via the pulmonary veins. That goes to the left atrium. That goes in, fills the left ventricle. So again, it shouldn't backflush into the left atrium. That's going the wrong direction. So then what we have here is, again, the left ventricle. So when it contracts, where is it going to squeeze? It's going to squeeze oxygenated blood into the aorta. And again, the aorta, this big vessel leading from your heart, and it carries oxygenated blood. You have the three main branches here up to your upper body. And then you also have the blood going through this descending aorta down to the abdominal aorta and to the trunk and your lower body. And you also have the coronary vessels that feed the heart itself. We did cover that in the previous lectures. So for what we have here is that another picture of the aorta. This is from your OpenStax book. And what we have here, so notice there are three main branches of the aortic arch. You definitely should know these. So notice that we have our left subclavian, we have our left common carotid, and we have our brachiocephalic artery, sometimes called brachiocephalic trunk. And in older textbooks, it's called the innominate artery. So innominate literally means no name. And if you have like older, like I remember when I was first learning this anatomy, then my professor was like, oh, it's called the innominate artery because it has no name. And I'm like, wait, aren't you naming it by calling the innominate artery? And I've heard other like anatomy professors like, oh yeah, it's funny, it's a no-name artery. I'm like, it has a name now. It's called a brachiocephalic trunk. But just FYI, if you see that term, it's referring to this artery. So compared to other animals, sometimes you have like, okay, the right subclavian and right common carotid are fused directly to the arch. But humans were a little special. So what we have here is that this actually fuses before you enter, or actually the aortic arch. You have this fused brachiocephalic artery before it branches off. So the left common carotid and left subclavian, yeah, these directly branch off. But the right common carotid and right subclavian, they don't quite branch off of the aortic arch.